All right, so welcome everybody to Lissa's virtual portfolio workshop. My name is Beth King. I am the president of this Lissa chapter at University of South Carolina. With us today, we also have our lovely secretary Shadria and Ellen Domenico from the School of Information Science, who is going to be giving us a presentation in just a bit. I just want to go over a few things before I pass it over to Ellen. The objectives of this session are to clarify the portfolio process, promote student success to reduce common mistakes, address confusion, and share best practices for the portfolio, to highlight the professional value of the portfolio, and to increase transparency about the process. So, why is the portfolio required and why is it important? Well, first of all, it's required for graduation. So, the graduate school at USC requires some sort of culminating project for any master's degree, and the portfolio is the required project for the MLIS. It's also required for ALA accreditation, and that is something that we recently got granted our continuous ALA accreditation through 2032, which continued an unbroken streak dating back to 1974. Accreditation means that this program has undergone rigorous review to ensure a strong curriculum, qualified faculty, and appropriate resources, assuring that you and your tuition and effort are going toward a degree that is respected in the field. And because accreditation is national, the degree is transferable between states, which ensures that you can apply for jobs without worrying about whether or not your degree is recognized. Many libraries, especially public and academic libraries, do require ALA accreditation in their MLIS degrees for hiring professional librarian positions. So without an ALA accredited program, you might be ineligible for certain jobs. The portfolio also helps with job readiness because it showcases your professional competencies. It shows highlights of your applied learning, so it provides concrete examples of projects that you've done that beyond what a resume or transcript can convey. It strengthens job applications, demonstrates communication skills through your reflective writing that's required of the portfolio. It illustrates technological proficiency, and it helps prepare you for interviews. So those reflection sections that you write can help you recall your coursework and connect it to professional practices. So that's something that's useful to think about when you're preparing for interview questions. So I am going to go ahead now and pass it over to Ellen, who's going to give us an overview of the portfolio process and a little walkthrough and give us some tips and best practices.
Thanks, Beth. I'm going to go ahead and share, and then let me fix that. Yeah. Okay. And I think, sorry, I need to get the y'all's faces out of the way. Not that I don't want to see them, but I get distracted. And I can't see the chat. So if anything pops up in the chat, let me know.
I will do it.
Perfect. All right, so first, this shouldn't be a surprise, these names and maybe these faces, but if you're doing your advising appointments, hopefully not. But just to do an overview of our graduate student services team, we are a team of three. So we have myself, I'm the graduate student services manager, so I oversee all of the graduate student services stuff for the iSchool. I also am the advisor for one of our other master's degree programs, Information Security and Cyber Leadership. And then we have two MLIS advisors. They're absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen them yet, if this is your first semester, you will. So Roger Fowler is our advisor for students that are on the school library track. And then Randy Dantrell Heath is our advisor for students on the general track. So the advisor sticks with the track. This is also a great reminder if you are on the school track, but you're getting emails from Randy, let us know because that's not right and we need to fix that. You'll see your advisor every semester for advising, and then they're always available for you to answer any questions. I'm also available to answer any questions. Sometimes, we work really collaboratively together, so we're always bopping ideas off of each other and things like that. All right, so a little overview of the portfolio. Portfolio is due in your final semester, and there are set dates each semester just to kind of keep it easy. So if you're graduating in a spring semester, your portfolio is always going to be due April 15th, no matter what day of the week that is. I think for the fall one, just recently it was on a Saturday. That's fine. Your portfolio is always due April 15th if you're graduating in the spring. In the summer, it is always due June 30th. And then if you are a fall graduate, it is always due November 15th. So that's going to line up with whenever you're finishing. But as you can see there, just because it is due in your final semester doesn't mean you have to do it in your final semester. So you can start in your very first semester, or it does start in your very first semester with an assignment from 701. The general track has a required assignment from 701 in the portfolio, and I believe the school library track does as well. So no matter what, you're starting the portfolio, you should at least be thinking about it at the beginning. Not to say that you have to make great strides on it, but we'll talk a little bit about how you can work incrementally towards it during your time here so that it's not so overwhelming in your final semester. All right, so these deadlines are specific to this semester. So if anybody is graduating this semester and you're submitting your portfolio this semester, you're going to want to keep an eye on these dates. So it'll be due on April 15th. For the due date is always going to be by 11:59 p.m. that day. So it's just an online form for the general track. For the school library track, that might change slightly just because that's going to go through your internship class with Dr. Spearing, but we'll talk about that, but due April 15th. For any of my general track folks, if you submit your portfolio, it goes to a set of faculty reviewers. So we have a handful of faculty that will review portfolios each semester for the general track. For the school library track, Dr. Jenna Spearing reviews all of them. And so she might have her own slightly updated deadlines for these because she's reviewing 30 in a semester. It's a lot. And so if anything that I'm saying conflicts with what Dr. Spearing says, she trumps me. She is the answer for anything school library. But for my general track folks, you submit it by the 15th. Your rubric will be sent back to you by April 22nd. So that's a week later. I think it's a Wednesday this year is the 15th. So that following Wednesday, April 22nd, you should receive your rubric. It'll come in an email from JotForm. JotForm is the website that the College of Information and Communications uses for all of our forms. Any kind of form you get from us, any kind of survey, any kind of anything is going to be on JotForm. So your rubric will be on JotForm. So it'll come in an email from there, and it'll have your rubric there. Now, if once you get your rubric back, if your reviewer says, hey, you need to make some revisions because you didn't pass, we'll talk about what passing is in a second. If so, then you will have until April 27th to submit those revisions. So it's a bit shorter than a week. I think it's like 5 days. The 22nd is a Wednesday. The 27th is that following Monday. So you've got a couple days and then the weekend. It is shorter. The idea being you've already done the most of it. If there's just some minor tweaks you have to make to bring it up to that passing score, you should do it relatively quickly. And then if you needed to submit revisions, then your final rubric would be due back from your reviewer by May 1st. So again, just a couple days after that. I need to stress a lot that these deadlines, particularly for the general track and then whatever deadlines Dr. Spearing gives, are firm deadlines. There is absolutely no wiggle room in these. The wiggle room is if you don't meet it, you don't graduate. And that is because there are a lot of processes that have to go on. We have to submit things to the graduate school. We need things done. We need your final grades. There's a lot of things that go into graduation. And so if you don't meet these deadlines, I can't get everything submitted in time, and then the graduate school won't approve your degree, and then there's nothing we can do about that. So there are no extensions for the portfolio. I want to be very clear about that up front. This is something that you know about from the very beginning. You have all the time to work on it. If you're having any troubles on it, make sure you reach out early so we can help you figure things out. But again, they can't be extended because then you'll miss graduation. All right, so scoring. The portfolio, the general track portfolio is given a score. It's given a grade. There's a rubric on Blackboard that you can go through to see how they're going to score it. You know, this part's out of 10 points, this part's out of 15 points. So you'll get a number score. It is essentially pass fail. So if you get 61% or greater, you pass. You're good. You don't have to do any revisions. You don't have to change anything. You're going to graduate. That meets the graduation requirement. If you get a 60% or lower, then your reviewer will send, hey, these are the issues that I saw. Make these changes to get your score up as high as you can. Sometimes reviewers, they'll as they're going through, they're still going to give you feedback even if you pass. Let's say you get like an 80%. They might still give you feedback and say, hey, I really liked this. These things could be changed if you want. That's really more for your feedback if you wanted to use this as something moving forward, or just if you were curious about where you lost some points. But if you got a 61 or higher, you do not need to resubmit anything. You don't have to resubmit revisions. You don't have to do any of that. So it's really just pass fail. The score that you get is just used to know if you passed or you failed or not. It is not a grade. It doesn't go into your GPA. It's not a grade that gets entered. It's not a class. It's not anything like that. So again, it's essentially pass fail. You graduate or you don't with the portfolio. As far as scoring goes, we have had people that have to do revisions every semester. One to two, maybe. Sometimes some semesters it's no people at all. I don't think I've ever seen more than 3 or 4 people in a semester needing. So it's not that, they're always sending it back and everyone's failing and all that kind of stuff. Is if you're following the instructions and you're following the rubric and you're following the things, you're doing pretty well. The people that I've seen that have had to do revisions, they have gotten very clear feedback on what needs to be done. And I mean, if you're just following those directions, change this, this, and this, people have passed. I have never seen someone, and I can say this quite confidently, I've never seen someone not graduate because they couldn't take that feedback and make their revisions and have a passing portfolio. If you've gotten to this point in your degree, you should be able to take that feedback and make those changes, and it's not ever been a problem. The people that haven't graduated is if they just didn't submit a portfolio at all to begin with, and so then obviously that's a problem. But never had anyone not graduate because they couldn't provide those revisions. So if you submit it and they send revisions back, not an issue at all. Just go ahead and take it. It might be a little bit of a crunch for time because it's the end of the semester, but that's why we're giving you those deadlines just so you can be prepared, make the changes, resubmit. Dr. Spearing for the school library track portfolio, I know she will send information back out. You have to make these changes because the portfolio for the school library track is tied to your final internship class. It's part of the class. That grade does mean a little bit more that goes into it's part of the class. So she might have you submit revisions for something that is higher than a 61% because it's part of the course. So again, on the school library track, anything you get from Dr. Spearing, take her information over mine. There's no, well, Ellen said it was 61% or not, or higher, and I'm good to go. Not for school library track. So just make sure that you are following the instructions by Dr. Spearing if you are on the school track. All right, so little portfolio process overview. These aren't like set steps. When I was thinking about this portfolio workshop, these are steps that I thought if I was going through this process, how I might do it, and all the resources that we have. And so we'll go through them. So step one should be review the iSchool graduate students Blackboard organization. So for my general track folks, there is information in there about what has to be in your portfolio, the required assignments, a rubric, an example portfolio. There's all this stuff in there. We are constantly adding to it, updating it. And so review it. You can review it in your first semester. You can review it every semester until then. If you want to be, really on top of things, we try to send out updates. If there's a major change, we'll send information out. But review that, get an idea, get an understanding of what the portfolio is going to require. Do that before your final semester so that you know what you're getting into and what kind of time you'll need. Next step, compile your required assignments in a cloud-based storage system. So this goes for both tracks. Both tracks have some required assignments that you have to do. Like you have to use an assignment from 701 in the general track. You have to use an assignment from, I think it's one of your 742, I believe, in the school library track. So know what those assignments are. Those are in Blackboard for both tracks. Know what those assignments are. And it should be, as you're going through the classes, any um, assignment that is a required portfolio assignment, it'll also mention it in the syllabus. So it'll say this assignment, this is your whatever, your research proposal assignment for 705. This is a required portfolio assignment or something like that. So it'll also prompt you there. Save it in a cloud-based storage system. I cannot emphasize enough cloud-based storage system. Every semester, I have someone reaching out. I've been through 3 laptops in my time here. My computer crashed. I mean, you know the drill. It can happen at the worst time. If you save it in something, so by cloud-based, Google Drive, OneDrive, something like that, you can access it even if your computer crashes and burns. You can access it from your local library. You can access it from school. Wherever you can get onto the internet and get onto Microsoft or get onto Google, you can get it. And so save the assignment there. That way there are no issues. That is also the case for, don't rely on keeping your assignments in Blackboard and just going back to the class. I know some people like started the program a little bit ago and maybe they're coming back or something like that. And so, if you're coming back now, just make sure you're grabbing those assignments. Courses close, professors leave. We can sometimes get IT to open a course back up, but not always the case. So if you're thinking about it now, just go ahead and start saving them. You have access to OneDrive by being a university student because your USC email is through Outlook. And so you already have OneDrive. You don't have to pay for anything. Google Drive is free, whatever your preference is. Apple, I'm sure, whatever it is. The next thing I would do if I was in this position, I would build the shell of my portfolio website. So especially for my general track folks, you're going to be building essentially, I think that the school library does as well, but you'll be building a website that has your portfolio on there. And so I hear sometimes, I'm not the most tech savvy person. You're not coding. You don't have to buy a domain name. You don't have to do all this. The most common one we see is Google Sites. It's free. I'm not a shill for Google, but it just is free and it's easy to use. I've seen Canva. I've seen Wix, W-I-X. There's lots of different ones there that I've seen. So if that's something that you're worried about, go on and kind of build the outline. Have your title. This is my name's MLIS portfolio. Have the tabs. You're going to have a different page for each core competency. So build those out. Have that done. So that way, when you get to your final assignment and you're doing your stuff, you're just dropping things into the right place. You're not worried about, I can't figure out how to do Google Sites or something like that. The next thing I would do is I was getting a little bit closer to the end of my semester or my degree, start reflecting on those core competencies, on the learning outcomes for the school library track or core competencies, we call them for the general track. Take a look at them. They're also in Blackboard. Everything's in Blackboard. Review them. What do they mean? And so you'll see for each one, we'll look at them in a second, but you'll see for each one, it has like a core competency and then a learning outcome with it. And so look at the required assignment for it. How did this assignment meet one of those things there? Just start thinking about it. If you want to start jotting down some notes, I would recommend writing them out in, Word or Google Docs. Gosh, I completely blanked on that word there. Google Docs, something like that. That way you can edit it and change it until you're really, really happy. Again, then you just drop it right into your website whenever you're ready. So you've got all that stuff done. You've done your reflective essays. The next step is to review. And so you can review it, on your own, make sure you're happy with it. I strongly recommend that you send the link to your website to someone else, someone not associated with the MLIS in any way, shape, or form. A friend, a spouse, a parent, a coworker, whoever. Send it to someone completely separate from USC. Can they access your website? Can they access your assignments that you're going to link in there? Can they figure out how to use your website? It's easy to navigate. They don't have to know anything about the MLIS or about your degree to tell you, this is great, this is easy, I can click through it, and I have no idea how to get to the next page. That's the feedback you want. Or, this link is broken. I can't see this. Am I supposed to be able to see this? Send it to someone, have them review it. And then step 6 is just submit. So my general track folks, you will submit your portfolio on Jotform. There's a link in Blackboard for you to submit your portfolio. And so it'll ask like your name, your information, all this kind of stuff. What kind of portfolio are you submitting? Sorry, my dog's making noise in the background here. There are 3 to 4 questions that you have to say, I confirm, I've checked. They will seem redundant. I confirm that my portfolio is viewable by everyone. I have checked my links. I confirm I've checked. They are redundant intentionally because before we had that, there was a lot of back and forth. Submit your portfolio. Hey, I can't see your assignment. Submit your portfolio. Hey, I can't see your assignment. Change this, change that. And so get all of that stuff done before you submit it and kind of really look at it. That way, when you submit, especially if you're submitting on the last day, which most people do, that's completely fine. If you're submitting on the last day, we don't then have an issue. I don't have to reach out to you. Hey, you submitted it, but I can't see anything. If I can't get it to your faculty reviewer, then they can't grade it. Then we're down in the time. For my school library folks, like I said, it goes through your ISI 794, your final internship class. So you will submit however Dr. Spearing wants you to submit. Whatever she says goes. If you are a school library track student, do not submit your portfolio on the Jotform link. It won't let you. It'll have you select and it'll say don't submit it here. They're completely separate. All right, so we're going to look in a second here at a perfect portfolio and what makes it perfect. So that's a link. I'll open it up here in a second, but just to kind of give a little teaser of what makes it perfect. It's easy to navigate. The core competencies are included in full at the top. The work samples can be viewed by anyone, and then the reflective essays are detailed enough, but not too long. So I'm going to go ahead and switch out here in a second so I can show you what that perfect portfolio looks like. Okay. So this is an example of a perfect portfolio. You will see it's not the prettiest portfolio. This is just one that I made in Google Sites. And it's just like a general template that they had. I didn't do anything extra to it. And so it has the title up there, a welcome, thank you, your picture here. Put a picture of yourself there so people know who it is. You'll see in terms of ease of navigation, there is a navigation menu on the side here. So you can click through all of these things. You can click through each core competency. It's easy to see, the text is easy to read, things like that. In terms of the core competencies, if you look, as you click on each one, it'll say, so the core competency is included at the top. You have to include the core competency on the page for that one. So the information and its organization, and then this is the core competency here. And this is just copy and pasted directly from Blackboard from the website. Copy and paste. That's not plagiarizing. We are asking you to do it. Put it on there. And so then for my general track folks, each core competency then has several learning outcomes. You also have to clearly indicate which of the learning outcomes you are most hitting on in your reflective essay. So, this assignment probably hits a little bit on each of them, but I'm really speaking to learning outcome B, D, and E here. And so I've bolded those here. Some people will highlight them, something like that. The reason for that is you need to make it very easy for your faculty reviewer to know what you're hitting on. They look at each of them review, depending on the semester, between 5 and 6 in a short amount of time. They're also teaching classes and working with students in their classes. It's the end of the semester, they're maybe doing finals, things like that. And so they're putting their time and their effort into it, but if you can make it easy for them, they're going to have a better time grading it. And so these are clearly indicated. This person's hitting on these 3 learning outcomes here. We also have the work samples. So let me go to like this one. Really, they're on all of them, but you'll see kind of the organization. It has the learning outcome. This red box here is just a disclaimer that this is someone's actual reflective essay, don't take the reflective essay. It has the reflective, it's description, analysis, reflection, and then I've linked to the assignment. This is a fake assignment. I just made it in Google um, Docs so you could see like what it would look like, but it doesn't actually say anything. I didn't take the person's actual assignment. But you'll see that this is easy to see. The reviewer could press this button and it'll expand out so they can see it a little bit bigger. It's very clear that this is the assignment. They're using headings for each section of the reflection. And then on the reflective essays themselves, we say between 300 to 500 words. It's not a hard cap or a hard minimum 300 to 500 words. But I will say I and the faculty reviewers, you cannot have not seen an effective, thoughtful, reflective essay in less than 300 words. And so it's a reflective essay. You can see that's essentially like 3 paragraphs. It's really not that much. But we're looking for more than 2 sentences. That's not a reflective essay. That's 2 sentences. And so use that as a guide when you are thinking about your reflections. You can see they're not incredibly long. They're enough to tell you what's going on, but they're not crazy. They're not overwhelming. As you're writing it up, you can see the word count. And so you can see if you're a little bit over 500, that's fine. We don't want 6 pages of reflective essay. Your reviewer isn't going to read another research paper essentially for this. So use that as a guide. Really don't go under it. You can go a little bit over it. This example portfolio is in Blackboard, as with anything else. So you can, spend some time to look through that. So I'm going to go back to the presentation here. If I can find it. There we go. Okay. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Okay. So a perfect portfolio for the school library track. I don't have an example portfolio for that, but you'll submit it as part of your internship course 794, and Dr. Spearing provides incredibly detailed instructions on what the portfolio needs to include. So I know it might feel like I'm not giving you as much information as the general track folks. That is partially because Dr. Spearing does such a good job. She has a whole PowerPoint. She does a whole thing specific to just that portfolio. She is going to give you everything. I mean, down to you have to start it with this information and you have to have this outline and this whatever. So if you're following what Dr. Spearing says exactly to a T, you're going to get a great grade. They look more or less the same as the general track ones. All right, common errors. These are really the opposite of what makes it perfect. These are all actual errors that we have seen. I can't show you other people's portfolios, and I'm not going to show you someone's, put them on blast and show you someone's portfolio that didn't do good. But these are things that I've actually seen they've gotten dinged on, they've lost points for. So when we're talking about navigation, you want easy to navigate links, tabs, buttons, something like that. So we had someone, a couple people, a couple times, they just had kind of one long continuous scrolling page. And so it was really hard for the reviewer to figure out where am I in this learning outcome? Am I in this learning outcome? Because as you scroll, the top kind of goes away. And so where am I? Which one am I going to? Where does it go to the next one? It was very, very confusing. There's also no way to kind of like jump back. Maybe they wanted to look at maybe they're doing it in a couple different sessions. They did half of it, then they had to go teach a class or something, and they came back and they couldn't figure out exactly where they were because they didn't know, okay, I'm just on learning outcome number 3. So have separate links. Another thing we've seen is hard to find or hard to click navigation links. So if the text or the icon, let's say you did like a picture or something like that, if it's too small or the color is too close to the background, or we saw like the click box is too small. So the picture was really big, but you had to click in this one exactly little part in the middle. And so if someone's clicking around and they can't click on it, that's no good. So make sure those things are all good. You can use individual pictures, that's, if you want to pretty it up, by all means, you are absolutely welcome to, but make sure it's clear on what that is, or it has a word, or it says something, rather than just having pictures and they don't know, is this their resume? Is this going to lead me to the research learning outcome? I don't know where this is going to lead me to. So make sure it's just clear of where it's going to go. And then the other one is just the portfolio doesn't go in the listed order. So we have the order, it's going to go the welcome. I think it's like your resume, learning outcome one, learning outcome two, all that things. Keeping it in that order, again, helps the reviewer. They're used to grading it in that order. They're all in that order. If they're grading five of them and you're number five and yours is suddenly out of order, it's going to, throw them for a loop. And you don't want to make their lives harder because they're giving you a grade and they're seeing if you can graduate. So just keep it in that order. Other errors we've seen, just the overall look, sloppy, weird formatting, mismatched text size. To be clear, this does not refer to how pretty your portfolio is. This does not refer to, only the ones that get the best grades are the ones that have this beautiful Canva thing and someone was coding and they made all these things. If you want to do that because you love to do that, we love to see it. But I have seen perfectly scored portfolios using the exact same Google Sites template with absolutely nothing extra or fancy added in there. This is referring to, your reflective essays, like there's weird spacing or things are tabbed over in a weird way. Something's on this side, something's on that side. It's in like three different texts, three different fonts. It just looks sloppy, it looks messy. Keep that in mind. Other errors we've seen with the work samples, if you use the incorrect assignment. So like I said, there are required assignments for almost all of the core competencies for the general track. Use those. You can use additional assignments. So if you're saying, well, I'll use the one because I have to, but I also really want to talk about this assignment, add it in there. You can use additional ones, but you have to have the correct assignment. And part of that helps with our accreditation. The technology core competency for my general track folks, you get to choose whatever assignment you want to use, as long as it's not one you've used before. So that's where you can really shine in your technology. Broken links or assignments that can't be opened by others. We see this a lot in Google Sites. So when you're building your thing in Google Sites, if you then have your documents in your Google Drive, the site itself is accessible, but maybe the assignment in your Google Drive is set to like only I can view or something, or only people I determine, or whatever the wording is. Everything has to be set to like anyone with a link can view, or whatever the wording they use. And so I'll try to review that as people are submitting their things, but that's also why there's like 4 questions in the job form. Can we review it? I know this happens in the school library track as well. There have been a couple instances where Dr. Spearing has reached out and said, hey, I can't get in touch with so-and-so. I can't open their assignment. I can't grade their portfolio. Can you get in touch with them? And it gets up to deadlines, and then we run into issues. So just make sure it's easy. Other errors, the reflective essays. You can see there are 2 to 3 sentence reflections. Like I said, 2 or 3 sentences is not a reflection. That's why we have that word count to kind of keep you something to shoot for. And then the core competencies. So if you're not including the core competencies on there, if you're not clearly identifying which learning outcomes you are addressing, you're going to get dinged for that, because again, it just makes it a little bit harder for the reviewer to match things up, especially if, maybe you don't have the best reflective essay. That's fine. But if they can see kind of where you're trying to connect to, they might be able to make that link and help you out a little bit. But if they can't and they have no idea what you're trying to link it to, they can't give you some points, and they want to give you some points. They want you to pass this and they want you to do well. So make it easy for them, make their lives good. So just some best practices. Start early, start in your first semester. If you pass your first semester and it's your 3rd semester, but you're not graduating until next fall, start now, and earlier is better. Read the instructions, review the example portfolio. Following instructions is key. Ask questions. If you run into an issue, reach out to either myself or your advisor or Dr. Spearing, if she's your person doing for the school library track. You can ask us anything. I will say, if you're going to ask questions, the time to do it is before April 15th. It's even before April 14th. The time to do it is like March at the latest. We'll still answer your questions. I mean, I'm not going to leave you hanging just because you reached out. But if you're reaching out to me on the day of April 15th at like 9 a.m. and say, hey, I'm just starting, I'm running into this problem, I can't do a whole lot for you as much as I would want to. And then make it easy to read. Make people's lives easier, make them accessible. And a portfolio that's easy to navigate is easy to grade. It's as simple as that. That's really all they're looking for. So that's all I have. You've got my information there. Everyone should have my email address. I can go ahead and stop sharing, and then if there's anything that has popped up in the chat, or if anybody wants to ask any questions, I'm here to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We haven't had anything in the chat, but if anybody has any last minute questions that they want, I'm going to give a few minutes for that opportunity while I go over some of the questions that we've received through Lissa. We had a Google form where we just said, hey, are there any questions that you would like to hear answered at the portfolio workshop? And Randy did answer these at the last one. So I do have the answers, but if you have anything to add, please feel free.
Yeah.
So one of the questions we got was, does the portfolio affect my GPA? And the answer was no, it does not. However, as mentioned previously, you cannot graduate without it.
Perfect. Perfect answer.
Will there be enough time to complete and get feedback on ISI 720 assignments required for the school library track before the portfolio is due? And the answer was yes. ISI 720 is designed to be taken in the final semester alongside the internship, which is also when the portfolio is due. So any required work from that course that goes into the portfolio will be structured to meet the deadline.
Yep.
You kind of touched on this already, but somebody asked, what should I do if I'm unsure about portfolio requirements or assignment requirements? And it was avoid waiting until the deadline, check Blackboard, contact graduate student services if you need clarification, and for course assignments, reach out to your professor directly, but the earlier, the better.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I say check Blackboard. Blackboard's not going to be the end all be all. And so if you're looking in Blackboard and you just don't see it, please reach out. Please do. Because our office created the Blackboard organization, and so we're adding stuff. And when you're staring at something all day long, you think you've answered every question, but if there's something like staring you in the face that's just not there, let me know because I want to add it. So please.
Awesome. And then the final question that we had through Lissa was, how long does it take for degrees to be certified after submission? And the answer was that there is a graduation process section of the Blackboard organization where that timeline is outlined.
Yep. Not to keep going back to there, but yep, it's all on Blackboard. It takes a couple weeks, and there's like a detailed outline of how many weeks and why and all that kind of stuff.
Perfect. We did have one question just now pop up in the chat. Dr. Copeland assigned the Garnet AI Fluency Certification course as extra credit. Would it be possible to use that for the technology core competency?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% clear on what the certification is. I'll say this, the portfolio has to include an assignment from your time in the program. That's part of where it goes into the ALA accreditation is they're are people getting out of the degree what we say they should be getting out of it? And so if it's a certification, it's like a course, then it's not really an assignment that you can reflect on. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly, but like an assignment that you submit and then get feedback on. Now, if there is like an assignment component to that, let me know and I might change my answer, but my initial thought would be no unless I looked into it a little bit more. And I'm happy to do so.
Awesome. All right, so it doesn't look like we have any more in the chat. Just to wrap up everything that we discussed tonight, repeat. The iSchool Graduate Students Blackboard organization has requirements, examples, FAQs, all kinds of stuff. So when in doubt, check there. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, Graduate Student Services. And Ellen said they are happy to clarify anything and answer any questions. The recording of this video is also going to be going on GarnetGate in the Lissa organization site. So it will be there if you would like to reference it as you get closer to your portfolio. just on Lissa business, I wanted to plug our next couple of events. We have an in-person event, a guided tour of Thomas Cooper Library coming up on Thursday, March 5th. And our next open meeting is going to be on Tuesday, March 10th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. Of course, all of that is available on the Garnet Gate Lissa site as well. And that's where all of our future events will be posted if we are able to schedule any more. We actually have a pretty packed semester, so that's really exciting, but I'm not sure any more events will come up, but you never know. We'll see. Um, Other than that, thank you again, Ellen, for being here tonight and giving that presentation. Thank you, everybody, for participating and being here to ask your questions and prepare for your portfolio. And I wish everybody best of luck in the program and as you start to work on your portfolios.
Thanks, guys.
All all right, so we'll wrap it up there. And everybody have a great night.
Thank you.